Hello and welcome to Cynic's Guide to Hippie Shit. So, I'm here today with Juliet Adams, and we are going to be talking about intention setting. So, intention setting is something that's come up again and again when I've been talking to people about creating habits and how to stick at things, how to actually make positive changes. And I thought, I'm going to have to talk to you about this because you're the expert on intention and you've written a book about intention. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about what is an intention?
Lots and lots of definitions, but the definition that I use in Intention Matters is intention is a deep, sincere desire underpinned by a belief that it's possible. So I equals DSD plus B. So a deep, sincere desire is something you really want at a heartfelt level. It's not somebody else's desire. It's not a passing fancy. It's something that you really, really want and a belief that it's possible. So there may be something that you really, really want, but there's part of you that says, yeah, but it's never going to happen, in which case the brain's going to be arguing with the intention. So you have to have this balance of something you really want and something that you believe at some level is possible. You may not know how, and the how doesn't really matter, but you must believe that in some shape or form, in some way, at some point, it is possible.
So, when you say in some way at some point, do you need to be 100% convinced that it's possible, or is there room for some doubt?
I would say for it to work really well, you need to be 100%. But people get really hooked up, smart objectives. We get really hooked up on exactly how and regimenting it. And actually, the how it's going to take shape can unfold in all sorts of strange and unexpected ways. So, for instance, I heard of somebody who their intention, they really, really, really wanted to live in a castle, but they didn't have somebody who was going to leave them a castle in the will. They didn't have the type of money to buy a castle. So how are they going to live in a castle? But it didn't go away. They believed that at some point they could be living in a castle, but they didn't know how. And eventually, how it took shape was they saw an advert for some caretakers to live in an empty castle.
Oh,
And that's
wow.
how they came to live in a castle. But they couldn't have possibly anticipated that that was how they were going to get to live in a castle. So if they'd have taken the typical smart route objective, it would have been okay. The only way we can do it is buy a derelict one, and then we've got to get a mortgage, and yeah, and their brain would have then okay, there we go. That's what we're doing, and that's what they would have focused on, and that would have stopped them from seeing other possibilities. So it's holding that intention lightly so that it can take shape. But if they think, nah, never going to live in a castle, then the brain's going to say, okay, there's higher priorities that we're going to look for. So it's not going to happen.
So you've mentioned smart objectives a couple of times, and people who are watching might be familiar with this. What's a smart objective and how is that different to an intention?
Okay, so at school and at work, we're often told that we need to have smart objectives. So objectives which are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. So you've got to be very, very specific. So it's a form of goal. And there's a very great difference from a neurological perspective between a goal and an intention. So goals tend to be future focused, they tend to be narrow and restricted, they tend to be a destination or specific achievement. They're usually short term, they're often fixed and logical, and very often they're externally imposed or superficial. In comparison, an intention tends to be bigger and bolder, and it's rooted in the present moment. So it may be that, just like the castle wasn't happening at the beginning, but the intention was current every day that they wanted to live in a castle. Whereas a goal, oh well, I might do that next week or in 2 months or at the end of the year. So often it's future focused. Intentions tend to be broader. There are things called micro intentions, which are narrower, but generally, in the sense that we're talking about, they tend to be broad. We tend to live them every day, independent from actually reaching the end destination. They're often longer term, they're creative and intuitive, and they're heartfelt, personal, and they rise from deep within.
Okay. So I'm thinking about things like, and we touched upon this when we spoke the other week, um, wealth and wanting to be wealthy, wanting to be rich, wanting to, and then kind of squirming a little bit about the word rich, but then wanting to have more abundance in my life.
Yeah.
And if I'm understanding you right, you could have the goal of having a certain amount of money, but abundance, for instance, if that's an intention, abundance is something that you can tap into every day.
Yeah, as long as, so deep, sincere desire. Do you really want to be abundant? And do you
Yeah,
believe that it's possible to be abundant?
yeah, mostly.
Okay. Yeah. Whereas if you have a goal to earn 1 million within 5 years, for argument's sake, you can see how that's different to the
Yeah.
sense of being abundant. And abundant might not mean that you ever have £1 million. It might mean that you have enough money to pay the mortgage and to go on a few holidays and to buy a few luxuries. And you also have other abundant things around you, like friends and family and beautiful surroundings. It's much, much broader than purely a financial goal. And
And I
words are
think,
super important.
yes, and I think you can aim towards a goal of having money in a way that's the complete opposite to abundance because you start scrimping and saving and feeling quite narrow.
Yeah.
Whereas it's about an intention towards abundance, you're allowing you have your attitude's different. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. But also, money is never actually the end goal. People think it is, but it isn't. It's about what the money can do for you. So it might be that you want to live in a large house. It might be that you want fancy holidays. It might be you want fancy cars. I'm just using various stereotypes here. Whereas actually, when it boils down to it, it might just be not being concerned about
Yes.
paying the bills or living somewhere a little bit more comfortable. Or, it's what's very often with intention setting, it's getting to what's beneath and what's beneath that and what's beneath it till you get to the essence of what's really important.
Yeah, one of the things for me around money and abundance is being able to make decisions based on this is what I like rather than this is what's cheap. So
Yep.
I'm getting my bathroom done, and I did the whole looking on Pinterest kind of thing to decide what I wanted. And I'd seen this lovely color scheme that was um, pale dusky pink, dark navy blue, and gold. And then I ummed and ahed about gold. It's like, it'll date, it'll be more expensive, do. So I kind of went, no, I'll go for chrome. It's more sensible. And my heart didn't, feel it. But I don't know, I'll do the sensible thing that, it's gonna be dated in a few years' time and all of that. And then I went to actually make my final decisions and started like actually looking in the bathroom showroom and I just went, I want the gold. So I've gone for the gold.
The deep,
And
sincere desire was the gold. It wasn't to be practical. Was it about a feeling of opulence, a feeling of luxury when you're in the space?
and interest, when we talk about things like visualization, I think, and I suspect visualization is part of this. Um, my visualization is to sit in the bath with a glass of champagne and look around it and go, yeah,
And what goes with that, chrome or gold?
gold, definitely.
You answered your own question.
Yeah, yeah. So it's we're going for gold, and oh, I
So it
think
wasn't
2 weeks.
about the longevity of the bathroom or being sensible. It was about feeling opulent and pampered when you were in the space. So that
Exactly.
was the intention. Obviously, you're going to buy, you know, baths and such like that are going to be durable. You're not going to buy the cheaper. So it's, you're going to get things sensible, but it's as much about that when you set that aside, it's as much about style.
Yeah, yeah. And that sense of feeling worthy of something that is opulent. I think I like that word. Yeah.
Worthy. And why might you not feel worthy?
Oh, I think it's a lot of conditioning, isn't it? I think that we can get into a lot of conditioning around what it's okay, how much money you're allowed to spend on yourself, what's sensible, how much you earn and how much, all of that kind of stuff. And it comes down to class and gender and all of this kind of stuff. There's a lot of breaking free of that to kind of go, well, what are my actual values?
Yeah, what's beneath, but also once you're aware that some of them are conditioned responses based on your upbringing and all sorts of other factors, you can go, okay, but at this moment in time, setting that aside, do I want a sensible bathroom or an opulent bathroom? And of course, the opulent bathroom might be very sensible too.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going for bathroom cabinets that are out of reach of the toddler, so that's quite sensible.
There you go.
So you talked about kind of looking at what's underneath and what's underneath. So when you're setting an intention, again, that's different to a goal. So how do you kind of really boil down to what the actual intention is?
Okay, it depends in what context. So, are we talking about an intention for the day, which might be a micro intention? Are we talking about an intention for a bathroom? Are we talking about an intention in life?
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay, well, here's where purpose comes into it. In Intention Matters, I didn't really talk about purpose, but if you Google intention, then you find out there's more people searching for purpose than intention. So I started to, since writing the book, I've started to look at the difference between purpose and intention. And actually, the conclusion was that purpose is just your highest intention. So the purpose might be the reason why we do what we do, but it's actually our highest intention. So the point is, um, that the intention is the active ingredient, and it's the bit that neurologically presses the buttons to get things going. And a really clear example of this, if you set aside the fact that all businesses and shops, they're there to make money, ultimately setting that aside. I love the IKEA example because I think it's very, very accessible. So IKEA's why, or their purpose, is to create a better everyday life for the many people. The intention that underpins that is offer a wide range of well-designed, functional home furnishing products at prices so low that many people as possible will be able to afford them. And the actions, the taking action underneath that, is to design and sell a wide range of well-designed, functional household products for sale at low prices. So that, I think, is very clear, but you can then extrapolate that to almost anyone and anything. And for some people, they may have purpose with a capital P, so to change an aspect of the world or help many people. But for the majority, it's purpose with a small p. It could be to feel abundant. It could be to make a small difference. But the point is, there's purpose and then there's intentions. And in order for the intentions to take place, we need actions. But we don't need to plan the actions. Often they will just unfold as a matter, but we do need to take action. And there's I don't know if we've got time for it, but there's a little joke around this that I think illustrates it quite well.
Oh, go on.
Okay, now you may have heard this, but there's a big flood, lots of houses are flooded out, and this particular gentleman lives in a house that's got a Velux window out onto the roof. So the house being flooded, the water being nearly to the upstairs, he crawls out of the Velux window and sits on the roof, and he waits to be rescued. And he's a man who has deep faith, and he prays to his God, oh God, please come and save me, please come and rescue me from this roof. So 20 minutes later, a motorboat comes past. And the man says, jump in, I can save you. And he said, no, 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 it's okay, thank you very much, but my God is going to save me. So very reluctantly, after arguing for some time with the man, off goes the motorboat. And next, there's a rowing boat that comes past. Same conversation, I'm here to save you. Come down, I can take you away. Thank you, but my God is going to save me. So again, off goes the rowing boat. And about an hour and a half later, the man's getting very cold. He's sitting on the roof. It's not very nice weather. And a helicopter comes past and throws down a ladder. We've come here to save you. We can rescue you from the roof. And again, he says, no, my God's going to save me. It's all going to be fine. So reluctantly off goes the helicopter. Anyway, the floodwater rises and he dies. And so in heaven, he gets to speak to his God. And he said, I'm a man of faith. I believed in you. I asked for your help. And God says words to the effect of, well, I've sent you a motorboat, I've sent you a rowing boat, I've sent you a helicopter. What else do you want? So this then begs the question, what was his intention? Was it to live? Was it to be saved, or to be saved by God? What do you think?
Yeah, he was wanting to be saved by God, wasn't he?
Yeah. And so although he thought it was about escaping, actually it boiled down to he got into this rigid thinking pattern. His underlying intention unconsciously, and often our intentions are unconscious, was to be saved by God. And he failed to take action. So instead of having an intention to be saved, there was action that he could have taken, to get in the rowboat or the motorboat or to get into the helicopter. He didn't take any action. He just expected. He sat there and he just expected a godlike hand to scoop him up and save him. And he didn't. He drowned. So he did have an intention, but he wasn't clear on what he actually wanted. So actually, he got what he wanted because he hadn't been clear enough about it was actually about being saved.